What is going on? We're back at it again with another episode of Convos with Dr. Andy. Finalmente, I probably didn't realize that we haven't been recording the last couple of weeks because we release one every single week. But today we're going to be chatting about car accidents, chiropractic, getting back to movement after acute injuries. And Andy, I kind of want to hand it over and you give us a little bit of a perspective, point of view. What does it look like for you in your office, in your experience with people just having trouble getting back to a daily routine or movement with acute injuries in general?
Yeah, James. So at our office, so we are not a PI office, I would say. So PI personal injury. We do see a fair amount of auto accident patients. So that can range from, patients that have had a very serious accident to those that have just had a very minor fender bender. Um, so what we always do in our office with a new patient is do a detail-oriented history and then an exam, and then X-rays as well, barring any contraindications for X-rays. But regardless, so whether that patient's been in a serious accident or a fender bender, yeah, we always do a detailed history, exam, and then X-rays on them. But yeah, we see a lot of cases like that where we treat them chiropractically and we get great results, just like we would anybody, walking into our office. It depends on where they kind of start from. So patients that obviously come in a little bit more of a deficit, meaning more of a dysfunction, maybe a major trauma, they may have a little bit longer path to get back to what they were or even healthier than somebody who comes in who just has maybe a minor injury as is. So I think that first and foremost, some people may think it's a contraindication if they've been in a car accident or even a trauma to go see a chiropractor, just because they think, oh gosh, well, they may hurt me even more, especially with the neck, So for one, in our office, that's why we take X-rays to rule out or rule in any red flags. Or even diagnoses. And then two, we do multiple modalities at our office. We're primarily manual adjustments, which means that we use our hands, right? And you do hear and feel the what's called cavitations, so the noise, the crack, the pop. But we also use, more subtle instruments as well for patients that can't handle, manual adjustments. So for instance, we get a lot of patients that have whiplash from car accidents. So they can't handle an HVLA or a high velocity, low amplitude adjustment with the hands. And so there's a lot of other, there's techniques other than using your hands in that in that mode of manually adjusting them to get them improving to a place where they can handle a manual adjustment if we deem that, and then we can adjust them like that.
Okay. Yeah. So as far as like severity of, I mean, obviously every case is different, right? But severity of car accident, let's say I am patient 123 and I got in a low speed accident, little fender bender coming around a little, I don't know, a roundabout going like 5-10 miles an hour, right? Police report, etc., because insurance. But I'm feeling a little bit of discomfort in low back, maybe my hamstrings, in my shoulders a little bit, kind of got jolted around, but I don't have any. I mean, I've been to the ER, got checked out, and they didn't recommend that I go see ortho or anyone else like that. Like, am I someone that you would recommend come in and see y'all, or should I try to do some self-assessment or some other things on my own?
I mean, I think if somebody has the wherewithal and the knowledge to do a self-assessment, sure, by all means, right? Like James, you're somebody who reads a lot to self-educate, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you also take a whole bunch of courses and whatnot to learn. So, for you, you're somebody who takes it upon themselves to do a lot of self-maintenance. So for sure, but for someone who doesn't really like to take on that role for themselves. Personally, I think just in my experience, I know I'm biased because I am a chiropractor, but I've had other professions as far as treatments and wise. I think chiropractic is ultimately the least invasive and cheapest, but that doesn't mean that we take any less good care. So for somebody who gets, a little fender bender, might be a little bit sore, right? Gets anything ruled out as far as anything serious, such as a fracture or a dislocation or any kind of internal bleeding or whatnot, neurological condition such as a concussion. Um, that doesn't need to be co-managed. Yeah, for sure. Like I think they could benefit from getting a chiropractic uh, treatment. I won't say adjustment, but just chiropractic treatment for sure.
Yeah. And for somebody like, let's say somebody doesn't have health insurance, right? Doesn't have a ton of money, right? Just lost their job. I mean, in as a chiropractor, what would you recommend to somebody if they can't come see you for whatever reason, but let's say it's financial because that's kind of the season that a lot of people are in these
Sure.
days. What would you recommend that they do for themselves at home or do or focus on or test themselves?
I guess it would. I guess it would depend on what exactly is ailing them.
Mm,
Um, I mean, you and I have talked about this a lot, especially on previous recordings.
mm,
But I mean, the two biggest things that people can do on their own
mm.
is what they put in their body, and
Yeah,
as far as hydration and nutrition, as far as food or
all
movement,
kinds of
right?
things.
Yeah. So it's movement. Now, it'll be tough to kind of give like an array of, hey, these are things that you should do as an assessment. Okay. Um, but like let's say, for instance, low back, right?
Mhm.
So if somebody gets a little bit more of a sore low back, stiff low back after a car accident, okay, harder to move around. There's some things that you can easily check off your list as far as like, okay, what am I intolerant of? So you can try to curl yourself up into a ball when you're standing, called the Jefferson curl. If your body doesn't like that, whether it be from a literal restriction of your inability to do that, or if there's an immense pain stopping you from doing that, then you can self-assess and understand, okay, I have a what's called spinal flexion or just flexion intolerance.
Mhm.
Um, Same thing. If you try to bend backwards, right, or put an arch into your back, and that hurts, or you can't really do it, or it's difficult to try and stand up out of a sitting or a laying down position, then you can tell yourself like, okay, I have an extension intolerance, and so little things you can do for that is you can do McKenzie exercises, which one of those is similar to like a cobra stretch, where you lay flat on the floor or a surface, and your stomach is on the ground, facing the ground, and you almost kind of do like a warm up push up. So you leave your hips, excuse me, leave your hips on the ground, and you push your trunk or your upper torso up, and you're going to kind of extend your neck where you're looking upwards, and you want to do that slowly, as high as you can until you feel discomfort and stop right at the discomfort. So you don't want to push through any pain with that. Slowly over time, that extension is going to be welcomed back into the spine
Mhm.
for you to be able to move better into extension. That's how you build tolerance to that. Flexion is very similar. The assessment is very similar to the treatment. So doing Jefferson curls slowly to the point where you slowly increase your range of motion and desensitize those tissues
Mhm.
can be a good way to introduce flexion back in. Or laying on your back, pulling your knees one at a time or both at a time, and rounding your lower back while you're doing that can be a good way to also introduce some uh, non-compressive flexion back into the spine. Um, but as far as just overall joints go, like I said, if anything's ruled out as far as any major, tears, second, third degree strains or sprains, fractures, yeah, I mean, range of motion is going to be great. Hanging from a bar for the shoulders, right? Just walking, if say the ankles, I mean, walking front ways, backwards, sideways, just putting proprioception into these joints, running them through full-ish range of motions, right, is going to flush out any soreness and then bring resiliency to tissues.
Yeah. So similar recommendations to anyone that's been sitting a ton or has rolled over shoulders or has tight hips and anterior pelvic tilt, has tight hamstrings, has tight quads, couch stretch hurts, right? More of that kind of opening because we close up so much, and then trying to work into there. That definitely makes sense. So it sounds like um, even if someone maybe not believe that chiropractic or PT or ortho or whatever is for them, that we might be able to take something from each modality or the modalities within and apply it to our life to just get better in general, car accident or not. Like being aware, and I know that you and I are pretty aware of our posture, pretty aware of our hydration, our nutrition, etc. But it's because of the amount of time we spend doing it and paying attention to it. It sounds like an overall recommendation from you as a chiropractor and as a, as a CrossFit coach and other practitioner in other ways too, would be that you become more aware and you put yourself in a position to better yourself in those situations or not. You say that's fair?
You kind of cut out there a little bit. What was that last part?
I was just saying that you as a chiropractor and a CrossFit coach and, practicing other modalities as well, you would recommend that somebody has, like, first of all, garners the awareness of kind of where they're at now, right? And where their deficiencies or inefficiencies are, and then works to improve those, whether it is in chiropractic or otherwise.
Yeah, 100% agree. I'm not so dogmatic to think that I'm the only person or this is the only profession that can help people. So yeah, I mean, I think first and foremost, I would love it if everyone felt the empowerment and the drive to be more aware of the body that they're in, right? You only get one of these. But then, yeah, too, like whatever decision or path you choose to improve yourself, right? I think you're only going to get better, right? Because even if you choose necessarily not the fastest path or the shortest path or even the right one, as long as you're continually striving to do something to improve yourself, you're gonna find the right way. Yeah. So, and I would say this too, like along with that, if you choose a path, like let's say physical therapy, if you go to a physical therapist and you have a bad experience, like that's okay, that happens, right? People go to multiple people go to many different folks for different things and they have a bad experience, but that doesn't mean that they stop going. You have one bad experience with an MD. You don't say, well, screw MDs, I'm never going to go see them again. I mean, I think it's a little bit unfair and biased that people go to say like a PT or a chiropractor or even a massage therapist or an acupuncturist, and they may have a bad experience one time and they rule out and stereotype that entire profession. I think that's a little bit unfair to say all that. But yeah, whether you choose my office, another office where I'm currently, living, or you choose a whole different profession, props if that's you just trying to improve yourself. I'll always be willing to help somebody who's willing to help themselves, even if it's not through me.
Beautiful. We'll tie a bow on that right there. Sounds like car accident or not, time to be a little bit more aware, time to do the things that you know you need to do that you've been putting off. And if you don't know those things to do, you can check us out on YouTube on these episodes, on my personal YouTube or on True Capacity, with all of the movements that we're talking about and breakdowns of things that you can do to get moving the other direction. So that's all free. We don't charge anything for that. Get to spend a lot of time with us. I think this will be this is like 19 or 20 in a row. And so we have 20-ish episodes out there from 5 minutes to 45 minutes going over all these things that we're talking about. You can find it, right? And if you need a link, just holler at your boy. I appreciate you coming on, and we are going to end that episode there.